Hi, well, today I'm picking an image here that I took in Marrakesh, and it's of this old guy, Carter, basically moving things around the town and the souks and everything else. They just get whatever work they can, and not permanently employed or anything like that. So it's a bit difficult and things, but I love the shape and hauling this big cart along. But it wasn't ideal because if you look at it there's two guys in it and just walking along the side. And I took the picture and I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But anyway, I decided I have to get rid of them. And so, first of all, I brightened the image to see what it was doing. And then on the next one, using a different app, Retouch, I was able to get rid of the two guys and come up with that. Now, Retouch, very, very good, and gives you a very fine detail, and you can go in very close and everything else. So I found it excellent. Just takes, like anything, if you're working in Photoshop, takes a wee bit of working at, but it's not that difficult. So this is the picture I'm going to work on. So I'm going to open this one up here again in Snapseed, and we'll see where we go from there. Right, here we are in Snapseed, and what I'm going to do with this one here, there are a few things needs before I really start going into doing anything in particular. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the tools. I'm going to be working mostly on the bottom, the fourth row down, the tools there: vintage, grainy film, retrolux, grunge, and black and white. So what I'm going to do first of all is this particular picture, I need to crop it a bit. So up at the top right, I'm going to the crop and do that. And then all I have to do is I'm going for free cropping because to figure out where I want it to go. And grabbing the corners, I can move in here down to where I want basically this to go. Bring it down a wee bit at the top there as well. And yeah, that's pretty close to what I think I can move it up or down a wee bit there. That's fine. Okay, so we'll crop that. Okay, so that's it ready to go. Now the other thing I noticed about the old guy is his face is very dark, and by putting texture various things, we're going to lose his face. So we really need to brighten that. So go back in and here, and then brush second row down far right. I'm taking that. And you've got at the bottom here, dodge and burn, exposure, temperature, and saturation. Well, the thing that I'm interested here is exposure. I want to brighten that a wee bit. And you can see there it's at 0.7, which I feel is just about right for this particular image. So if I bring it up using two fingers, I bring it up and I can just use my finger on this here. I'm not being terribly accurate about it. Brighten the shirt a wee tiny bit too as well. So that's going to let me see his face an awful lot better. So click on that, and that's it. So immediately his face is a bit better. If you need to brighten it a bit more, you can go back and do that again. So there we are. Now, where we want to go from here is you've got black and white, and your grunge and retrolux and the grainy film and the vintage. I'm going to start with black and white. I want to turn it into black and white. And there are different degrees here which you can alter. These can all be altered, but you've got neutral, you've contrast, you've got bright, you've dark, you've film, and you darken the sky, which is mainly for landscapes, for darkening up the blue skies. But I'm going into dark, but I still want to adjust it. It's a wee bit too dark in certain places, so use my finger up and down like that. Brightness, I'll bring that up a wee tiny bit. Contrast, I'll bring it down. I don't want it too contrasty at this point. I can always change that later, but try and maintain as many of the details in the clothes and things like that. Now, if you hold your finger on actually to the thing like that, that shows you what it was, what it is now. And that can happen at any time. So happy with that, click out of that. Now, the next thing I want to do is going into tools here. We've got black and white. I'm leaving grunge for the moment. There's retrolux, grainy film, and vintage. I'm going to go to retrolux. The retrolux gives you a whole series of filters here. like a sepia, cool black and white, green. There's so many different variations onto it. And if you look at all these here, going through them, see what you find. And that's quite nice. The red colour is quite good as well. Maybe a bit strong. But if you notice, by the way, on it, that there is a cross and arrows crossed. So if you hit on that, it gives you many variations. Light lakes and, excuse me, light lakes and various textures, things into it. They may suit your particular job, and this particular one they don't. So what I am going to do is go back to, let's see, we'll come out of that one, cancel it, go back in again and go to Retrolux. And there we have a colour there that I think is quite nice. And if I use fingers up and down, you've got different things you can do with this here. So you've got brightness, bring it down a wee tiny bit, contrast, you've got saturation, doesn't make a lot of difference here, style strength, stronger colour or weaker, and scratches. Now that's what you saw in the light lakes and scratches, they come through, but I don't want those, so I'm taking those down to 0. Scratches down to 0. But you may find there's something there that you really like, so you can play around and see what you can get out of that. Sorry. Right, okay. So I've got that at the moment, and I'm quite happy with that in a lot of ways. Brightness, wee tiny bit further down. And in itself, that would almost suit me. I quite like that feel to it. So I'm clicking on that, and now I'm going to go to grainy film. We'll come to others in a moment too. And grainy film, this is giving you very much a different look on a lot of things here. Got a bit of blue there, but what I'm going to do with that one is putting the grain up to maximum. So you can see what it is. And then there, like that. Now the grain is something we've been trying to get rid of for years in film. We're always going with fine grain developers and everything else. And now what we want to do, we want to put it back into pictures again. So you can pick whichever one colour you actually like the best. So I've changed the colour of this one slightly. Got quite a good old feel. Now I wouldn't leave that at grain at 100. I would reduce that down. If we look at the old guy here, don't want it too smooth. I want a wee bit of texture in there. So I'd say around about 75 there. That would do quite well. So there we are. Now we've got a nice sort of feel about that. It's now starting to look as if it was taken quite some time ago. And so, you know, the next one then I would move to would be vintage. And again, this is a whole range of things. You can change the colours, everything else. And this, I use the vintage filters a reasonable amount. I find them very good. And it just depends, again, what you want to go for. Quite good there. It's dark. The man is, well, coming very much to the fore, the way it works. But again, moving up and down, you've got your brightness. You've got saturation, which will bring you more colours in. Your style strength, so you've got even more like that. Vignette strength, well, if you've got too much vignetting onto it, can look a bit too strong, so that could come down a wee bit. Style strength there again, whether you want to keep up and down a wee bit. Saturation up a bit more, and brightness. You can see here each time I do this, you keep going along, and what you could do with all of these ones here is there's not a big problem with them. If I click onto that and decide, right, do I like that or not? At the top, the wee backward arrow, hit that and view edits, and that's all the things that I've done. So start with the original, that's where it started out from. We cropped it, we used the brush, we used it black and white, used Retrolux, we used grainy film, and we used vintage. So you can go to any of those there, and then the way there's a wee arrow to the left, that means that's where we fly out, and you can then adjust these, and you can go back into vintage, and if you decide you don't like the saturation, bring that back down again. You say that's okay, and that's the way it'll stay again. So you can change all these, and if you don't like anything of them, all you have to do is like say vintage again, if you didn't like it, hit the bin and that'll go. Don't like grainy film, see we're now going down backwards. Don't like grainy film, or you want more, again you can play around every time. Very, very powerful. So I'm going to show now one last thing. We're going back here, and what we're going to do now is the tools, and this is grunge. Now this is quite a strange one really in some ways. Seems very extreme. So what I'm going to do is, if I move my finger across left or right, this changes the style. Right, now up and down, by the way, there's your style. So you've got a whole range of things. Style at the top. You can decide which one you want to go with. You may decide you don't like any of these. You don't have to use this one at all, but it's just to show you what goes on. Now we've turned it a wee bit blue, but well, it might work. We'll leave it at that anyway. And the other thing I wanted to show you is the grunge filters here at the bottom. I'm going to texture strength. Let's take that. Right, I'm going to go there's all the texture in it, but there's different textures. They're quite strong, quite almost crude in ways, but if they're used right, you can maybe get a decent one out of it. But I'm leaving it as it is there for the moment, okay? And now I'm going to click OK, and now what I'm going to do is go back into my view edits, and there we are, the grunge. Now what I want to do with this is the brush. I'm going to use the brush. Now that's brought me back to what is there previously. But if I hit on the small circle and triangle in the bottom left there, that shows me where all the grunge is. And so what I want to do is maybe take out some of the grunge. It's all too strong, but we'll alter this in a moment or two. So I want to take out some of that grunge round the man. So that's on naught. If I do that, it's right the way back to nothing. So I don't want to do that. So I just want to take out enough around him so that he's still a bit of grunge on him, but not too strong. Alright. So that's that. Now what I want to do, that's okay. Now what I done that, go back into here. Now we're going to do the adjustments, and texture strength, we'll bring that quite the way down. So it now balances up a lot better. So you've got the texture strength right the way through there, and that's fine like that. Just decide what's fine. Now in the middle here, we have a circle. If I, so center size, if I come right the way down, see the way the circles come in? Everything outside that circle gets blurry. So you can diffuse the backgrounds a bit and everything else. You can move it. If you just want the face to be more sharp, but everything else around it, you'll see that's the way to do it. But in this case, I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is enlarge it up using 2 fingers, so it's right the way outside the circle, and that means everything stays sharp, and which is the way I want it. So there you are. That's given a range of ways to work, and I hope you find that useful and have hours and hours of fun playing around with it. Hope to see you the next time.